Um, there's a couple examples of our work. We do a lot of Facebook ads, Google ads, SEO, web design, development. And so that's kind of where I draw my experience from. Just as an example, or just to get started, as a recap from last time, there are three kinds of marketing techniques we've been focusing on for this series. The first is Google ads, the second has been paid social ads, mainly on Meta, and now we're talking about SEO. And just as a reminder, each of them kind of have a different expectation of when results come in and a different intention. So Google ads, you start to see results immediately because you're paying to be at the top of Google, and the intent is very high. Someone is searching for something. Meta ads, the results are a little bit slower because you're convincing someone to buy something. They're not searching for it. And SEO, which we're going to talk about today, again, very high intent. Someone is searching for something, but the results take a little bit longer to see because you don't get to rank on the top of Google overnight. It takes a lot of time and effort to convince Google to rank you on the top. So, what is SEO? You guys have heard this term a million times from everyone, from ads to friends to seminars. What is it? SEO stands for search engine optimization. Google is one search engine, Bing is another search engine. Now we have even things like ChatGPT, which are kind of like search engines. So you are trying to optimize to get the search engine to put you at the top of their results. And so I put three different examples of what SEO could look like for different businesses. The first example, when I typed in personal injury attorney, you see how the Dominguez firm is the number one search result without paying for it. This is not a sponsored post. They are just number one on Google. That is them focusing a lot of time on SEO, and we'll talk about some of the things they've done to get there. The second example on the right-hand side is the Google My Business listing or the Google listing. Yes, Carlos, we will be sharing the presentation and the meeting is recorded. But the Google listing, which if you're a local business is very, very important to have, is another form of SEO. You don't have to pay to be on the top of that. You can also just rank organically. And last but not least, if you're running an e-commerce company, you can also submit your products to Google Shopping so that when people are searching, there is that carousel you have to pay for usually to be included, but there's also a organic side of it that you can have people shopping without paying to be listed there. So I'll kind of dive into all of that. Is my screen not sharing right now?
It is sharing.
It is? Okay. I
Uh,
noticed Bilkis mentioned she couldn't see it. Um, so let's jump into the next slide here. So thank you, Todd. Thank you, Arlene. On the SEO side, search engine optimization, there are four buckets we need to be good at to make progress here. And I want you guys to take away anything from this presentation. It's these four buckets. So the first thing is we need analytics, right? If you are a business owner or if you're doing marketing at a business, you need to understand what is your performance today and where are we going, right? We can't just say, let's start doing SEO without tracking it. Maybe your SEO is very good, maybe it's very bad. We need to be able to track it to know where we're going as a business. So Google Analytics is a free tool that Google has that allows you to add analytics to your website. Which pages are people going to? Which pages are they coming to from the website? Are they coming from Google? Are they coming from Facebook? Where are they coming from? All these questions I know you guys have. Google Analytics helps you get clarity. It takes about 30 seconds to sign up. And then if your website is using any of the major providers, whether that's WordPress or Squarespace or Wix or Shopify, they all have an integration. So within clicking a button, you connect the account and all of a sudden they start to track everything for you. So if you have a website, must use Google Analytics. I cannot, underscore that enough. If you are an e-commerce company, if you're selling products online, like physical products, there's also this tool called Google Merchant Center. That allows Google to get a feed of all your products and list it on Google Shopping for free. So if you're using Shopify or any of the major e-commerce tools, usually they have a button that says Build Merchant Center, and automatically it'll take all the info of your products and put it into Google, which is great. And then last but not least, in the Google suite of tools, there's this thing called Google Webmaster Tools. Sometimes people also call it Google Search Console. This is another must-have if you want to understand your SEO. It's free, it takes 30 seconds to set up, but then Google will tell you how many times are you showing up on Google for certain keywords. And we can actually jump into that tool in a little bit so you guys can see what it looks like. So Analytics A is all Google tools that are free. So no excuse not to use them. Analytics B is keyword tracking SEO tools. These tools you usually have to pay for. So maybe you don't do it at first, but if you have the budget to do it, great. There's a bunch of tools you guys can use for this, and I'll just pull up a couple examples. One is RFs. RFs spelled like this. I'll put it in the chat for everyone. Another one that's very popular is called SCM Rush. And then there's another newer one that I think is even more affordable, if I'm not mistaken. SE Tools. I will get you guys the other name. I don't remember off the top of my head, but these tools all do the same thing. What they do is that they let you input the keywords you guys want to rank for, and then it tells you what your ranking is for that keyword. So let me just see who's in this chat. I believe I saw Erica joined. And if I remember correctly, Erica has a photography business. So she can put in the keyword, professional photo shoot Los Angeles or um, headshots Los Angeles or whatever the terms are that she thinks are a good fit for her business. And these tools will monitor daily for you what is your ranking for that word. Oh, you're number 5 now, you're number 4 now. It helps you understand your progress for a bunch of keywords and also helps you do research. So that's a very good set of tools. Now that we have analytics down and we know how to track what we're doing, the next thing we can look at is technical on-site SEO. So what is technical on-site SEO? This piece is probably the most technical part of the whole presentation. So it might be a little bit complicated, but the idea is Google and Bing and all these search engines want to understand what's on your website. They want to understand, like what Jana said, that she is running a real estate business or that Erica is running a photography business. So they're going to try to scan your website to understand what's going on, but there are certain things that you can do to make it easier for them to understand that. So just to give you guys a concrete example, if I type in, let's just use the same example I had in the deck, personal injury attorney. And let's go to the top result. So the Dominguez firm here. This blue section right here that says personal injury lawyers in Los Angeles, 96% success rate, that is the page title that they're feeding to Google. And so it's very important to have the keywords you want to rank for, like personal injury, right? Personal injury in the page title. The next thing we see here in black is the meta description. Another thing that your customers won't actually see on your website, but Google reads to understand what does this business do because it's structured for Google. And so Google now sees award-winning personal injury attorneys. So they know, okay, great. This, you see how they even highlighted personal injury attorneys here? Because they match this word with this word. So this is the description you can give Google. There are many other things you can do, like you can add, for any picture on your website, you can add an alt tag that tells Google, this is what's in this picture. Um, so you could do this for every single page on your website, for every single image on your website. And these technical changes help Google understand what you do better. Now, the next piece is content. If you want to rank well on Google, you need to write about that topic. So I'm sure that if you've ever been introduced to the concept of SEO, you guys have heard people speak about blog posts or articles or things of that nature. The reason why that's a hot topic and why people always talk about that is if you want to rank well for something, you need to write a lot about that topic. What we do for our clients is we usually put out one piece of content on their website every single week, whether that's a blog post, whether that's an article, whatever, that makes sense for the business. And I want to show you guys an example of what that looks like. So if I go to one of the clients we work with, Tumble Rugs, and I go to the bottom of their website, let's go to the blog. So you'll see that there's tons and tons of blog content here. And, why would someone write an article about best decor for your man cave? Well, that's probably because they did the research or we wrote the research and we saw that people were looking for rugs for a man cave or best rugs for hair and claws because people with pets are searching these things. And if you pop in, you'll see there are tons and tons of words on this page and links on this page and images because we need to show Google we're not just writing a simple blog post, we're actually putting in a lot of effort. And so generally speaking, we want to have about 1,000 words, if not more, per piece of content, sometimes a little bit lower if it makes sense. But generally speaking, you want to write really, really rich content for Google to rank you. Does the blog have to be on your website? It does help a lot. It helps significantly to have the blog on your website. Because if you're putting all that effort, you want your website to rank, not this other third-party blog that you have that's not on your website. There's a lot of different ways to do the research on how to find what to write about, which we're going to talk about keyword research in a minute. But just as an example, let's say we want to rank for pet-friendly rugs. So we go to, past the sponsor results, we go to the actual results that are organic. And what we can see is we could see that there's a bunch of companies, including our client, that are ranking here. So if we wanted to do better, right, than our competitors, let's see who's like number one, Rugs USA, we might go look at this page and see, what are they doing on this page that's ranking so well. And in this instance, it's not a blog, it's a collection page. But if you get to the bottom of this page, somewhere they're going to have a lot of written content probably that, allows you to see what their strategy is. For example, like with ours right here, with Tumble, you'll see that we put content on the collection page, and also at the bottom of the page, we have a bunch of content that's trying to get us to rank pet friendly, kid friendly, and more. So you can always do research on what your competitors are doing if they're already ranking well, and see how much more content you have to write and how much more work you have to do. So content is the number one thing. We're going to talk a lot about content. And then last but not least is off-site SEO. So things that you're doing not on your website. And what that entails is getting other websites to link to your website. You guys might have heard of the word backlinks. You might have heard of the word citations in the past. But if you guys can get other websites to link to your website, whether that's you writing a piece of content for a blog in your industry and linking back to you, or getting PR or articles written about you, the idea is Google first goes, okay, the technical SEO on this website is great, the content is great, and now a bunch of other websites are linking to this website. This must be an authority in the space. And because they're an authority in the space, we're also going to rank them higher. So the more backlinks you have, the better. Now, this is a little bit of a repeat from the last meeting because the research for SEM or Google Ads and SEO is the same. You have to do the same kind of research. So we need to identify, for anyone who wasn't on that call, what kind of keywords do we want to put our emphasis on? And at a high level, there are four kinds of keywords. There's informational keywords, there are research keywords, there's transactional keywords, and navigational keywords. Someone who's looking up information, why do cats need furniture? They're much lower converting than someone who's typing in types of cat furniture. They're obviously a little bit more interested. And then transactional, buy cat furniture, they are ready to go. And navigational means they have a brand in mind, so they're super, super likely to purchase. So all of these keywords matter for SEO, but you might want to start off with the research and the transactional ones before you go to informational, because although those might be easier to rank for, they're also going to convert at a lower rate. But at the end of the day, you're going to incorporate all of these into your keyword research and your plan. And just as a reminder again from last week, the way that we choose the keywords, let's say we take all of the transactional keywords or all of the research keywords that we get from Google's tools to help us do the research. At a high level, we're building a scatter plot, right? We want to see on the y-axis monthly search volume, on the x-axis how competitive it is. which you could use cost per click, or you could use like the competition score that some of the other tools give you. And you want to go for low competition and high search volume. If you get this top quadrant and this bottom quadrant to work, then you have the best of the best, low competition and a high search volume and low search volume, and then you can start to see results very quickly. The more and more right you go on this graph, the harder and harder it gets to rank for those words. And again, you can use Google AdWords. They have a free tool that helps you do the research, or you can use any of those tools I put in the chat, like Ahrefs and SEMrush to do that research. Now, I'm going to go and talk about local SEO, and then we're going to come back and talk about e-com. So if you are running a local business, right, which I think Janice sent the fact that she's doing a real estate business. So what should you focus on there? So with a local business, you want to create SEO optimized landing pages. So in Janice's particular situation, it sounds like she's focused on the New York market. She might create a page that's like Brooklyn real estate agent or Brooklyn broker, and then maybe a town next to Brooklyn that is also a part of her market. And what that looks like in reality, just to show you guys a real example, this is a law firm that we work with that focuses on employment law. We wanted her to rank for employment lawyer in a bunch of different markets. So we actually have a page dedicated to Sacramento, for example. And if you look at the URL, it's the law firm slash Sacramento employment law. And we have all this content written here. Then if you go back, we have another page for San Diego, because that's another focus for her. And so we did .com slash San Diego employment law. You could even do this on a more local scale. If you're focused on Los Angeles, you could do Century City, Beverly Hills, Westwood, um, I don't know, any other market, Silver Lake, Echo Park. And so you can actually do a large set of different um, markets, even in a small market like Los Angeles, to rank well in all those different areas. So if you are a local business, this is a must do. You must create local landing pages for every market you want to focus on so that when someone searches for you in Century City, your listing comes up. But if you don't have a Century City specific page, then someone else is going to come up instead. So I highly, highly recommend that. I'm just going to look at the questions very quickly. Todd said, I run a mobile bar biz based in Las Vegas, but do a large percent of business in LA area at large. How do I converge these? So you could have pages for Las Vegas market and you could have pages for the LA market. There's no problem with that, right? You would do the same strategy here of having your local pages for every market you want to focus on. Arlene, great question. This attorney does not have offices in those markets, but in the law world, an attorney gets barred in a state, so she can practice law in all of California. She doesn't have to have an office in San Francisco. But the law firms that do have offices in different markets, they by default have different Google listings in every single city, and they have maybe different pages for every single office they have. But a small shop like this that's only based in the Valley in LA doesn't have that. And this is the way to compete with those bigger guys. It's by creating these local pages for every single market so that they do show up, even though they don't have an office in other areas. So that's step number one. Number two is your Google business profile. And so just going back to that example of actually the personal injury, which I have open here, you'll see that there are three firms that are listed in the Google business profiles and then one that's sponsored. So law offices of Jenny Levin, don't know who she is, but her page is great. She is ranking for a very challenging keyword with her local business listing. And what you'll notice is that she has a lot of reviews. She has personal injury as her category. She has a ton of images of herself and of accidents that she's worked on. She has, updates that are being posted on her Google business profile. If you guys are a local business, I mentioned this a couple times over the last 2 weeks, you guys need to have a Google business listing profile. This is a must-have and start to get reviews and start to add things in the name. Like for example, this one is a very good listing because they actually wrote personal injury lawyers in their title. So I highly, highly recommend doing tactics like that to optimize your Google business listing. And so, this is also very smart. She put products that she focuses on, all the different kinds of accidents that, this firm focuses on, which is a great technique. And then last but not least, developing engaging content. Like I said, you need blog posts, you need articles, you need resources to rank. So I'm going to show you guys a couple more examples from other firms we work with. We did, a page for accident attorneys. We did a page on a specific manufacturer for this lemon law firm we work with. So they want to lemon all kinds of cars, right? So we built a page for Ford Lemon Law, Chevy Lemon Law, Mercedes Lemon Law, because they want every search to work. So we need to create a different page for each of them. Um, I'm just going to look at the questions really quickly one more time. I have a recording studio and I'm looking at the podcast market. My studio is in the Valley, but I want to attract Santa Monica market. Would this be a good idea? Yes, exactly. Right. So, I mean, listen, would someone from Santa Monica come to the Valley to do this? I'm not sure. Maybe. I think they would if your studio is great. But yeah, I think it's a good idea to say, create a Santa Monica page and say, we work with a ton of podcasters from the Santa Monica market. They make the trek out to the Valley because our studio is so great. Here are pictures of our studio. Here is a number to call us, or here's our booking link. It's worth the drive. Like hitting that head on, even if it's a little bit further for them, because your studio is so great. And maybe even again mention some of the people you work with in that area to kind of build that credibility, or show some of the reviews, something to that effect. So we spoke about blog posts, we spoke about landing pages. One other thing that I think is a very cool example, specifically for the attorney we worked with in the body law. So like I mentioned, she focuses on employment and sexual harassment. In our research, we saw that a lot of people were searching complaint letter for sexual harassment. Unfortunately, people go through this at their workplaces. And so we said, you know what? Why don't we team up with the attorney to put out a letter, a template for free that anyone can use if they're having an issue, just to kind of help out the community and also rank for this term. And so what we did was we put together this awesome resource with the attorney that people can copy and paste, use if unfortunately they have an issue at work. And now, if they ever need an attorney because it escalates or they have an issue, they will always remember this attorney was there to help them. They can also type in their name and get a free consultation. And we can also retarget them with ads later to be like, did everything work out? Do you need our help? Do you need our services? And so putting out resources like this is a great way to get people to come to your website, build a relationship, and also eventually maybe even become clients or customers if it makes sense. Okay. On the business listing side, which I touched on very quickly, very briefly, there's a couple things I want to highlight. The first, make sure you add images regularly. The second, make sure you get reviews regularly and add services. There's a new section in Google listings, like I showed you with products. There's also one for services. Go in there and add every service offering you have and long descriptions so that Google can read those and rank you higher. You also can update add updates here, like for example here, and you could say, we just scored another victory, or we just did another photo shoot, or we just did X, Y, and Z, or post your blog posts. And the more regularly you update these, like this is great. They're doing updates every 2 days. The more you update this, the more Google sees you're putting in the effort and the more likely they are to rank you higher. So I would highly recommend doing updates too. Last but not least, going back to the tracking component, you can add tracking to Google business listings as well. This tool we're using is called Bright Local, if I'm not mistaken, and it actually shows you for a certain term, how are you ranking in every single area. So going back to Arlene's question, with my Google business listing, I could see, what, I'm number one in, Santa Monica, but I'm number four by the Grove. Maybe I need to do something else to rank better in the Grove market with my Google business listing. So it's a very cool way of being able to, see how you're doing in every sub-market and start to kind of make progress in all those markets. I'm going to stop there with the local SEO. I'm going to jump into e-commerce SEO. So on the e-commerce side, because I know some of you have your own websites, there are different components of the SEO. And I pulled up a couple examples for you guys. So going back to Tumble Rugs, when we first started working with them, they just had like a collection page that was like, here are all our products. And what we were explaining to them is if they want to start to rank for people searching for colors of rugs or styles of rugs or size of rugs, they need pages dedicated to that. So we built out this whole system for them where they have a page dedicated to 9 by 12 rugs and 8 by 10 rugs, etc. And if you click on the 9 by 12 rugs, you look at the URL, collections dash 9 by 12 rugs. We have a little bit of a description. And at the bottom of the page, again, we have a description about 9 by 12 rugs. We did the same thing for colors because we see people always typing in black rug, gray rug on Google. Well, if we want to rank for it, we're going to have to put in the effort and make the pages for it. And we did the same thing with style, right? Persian and traditional rugs, modern and geometric rugs. Each one of these has its own URL. Each one of these has its own description at the bottom of the page. That is the level of effort that you have to put in if you want to start ranking for these words. You can't just have products and say, I want to start ranking for Persian rugs. No, you need to make a URL, put in the content, show Google you're putting in the effort, write blog posts. So the first piece is these collection pages and the product pages. If you look at the product pages, they all have great descriptions, description, color, care instructions, specifications. You have to actually put in the effort on the product pages so Google ranks these. We already spoke about the technical things, right? We need to make sure the website is fast. We need to make sure the website has the titles, the descriptions, everything that Google wants to see. And then also, again, the blogs and the educational content. And those blogs, for example, if you're writing a blog about Persian rugs, you should link to the product that has a Persian rug. So Google sees the connection between blog post and your product. Those interlinks are also very important. So this is the example we just went through. You could see we took a page with like 1 or 2 pages and we made 30 pages because we wanted to rank for all these different keywords. And before I open up the questions, again, marketing, one channel isn't going to save you. You need to try a couple different channels to kind of make it all work. But it does take a little bit of time to see the results, and don't get discouraged if you don't see results right away, especially on SEO. It takes months to see, the fruits of your labor. And what I would look for in my results is how many visitors come by channel, how many come from organic versus how many come from all the other marketing channels, which again, you could do if you have Google Analytics. And the second thing is search engine results page, which is how many times am I showing up on the first page of Google for each of the keywords I care about. So I'm going to stop there and open it up to questions. And I'll leave my contact information open here while we do that. Um, Vartuhi, I don't remember exactly the way we let people ask questions.
They can post the question in the chat box, or they can raise their
Okay.
hand and we can unmute them.
Okay, great. I've never done the unmuting piece, so I might need your help with that. But other than that,
No
if
worries.
anyone wants to look up a business or talk about their business, happy to chat through it.
Anyone, if you have a question, please raise your hand. I can unmute you.
What's the best way to get reviews on Google? Really good question. I normally just tell my clients to manually just follow up with their clients, whether that's over text message or email, or even in person. And sometimes you want to incentivize it. You say, listen, if you write a review, I'll give you 10% off your next booking with me or something to that effect. There are also tools you can use that will like automate sending emails and text messages on your behalf. But I think in the beginning, it's just you being persistent and like really, really pushing for it. Um, Arlene asked, how do I update? I'm assuming you're talking about the updates on the GMB. When you are logged into your Google My Business account, there is an option to add updates, and you literally just put in like a little description, a little picture, and kind of just post it. Alex said, "Hi Jordan, we are a security guard company. How can we find the highest ranking keywords for our niche?" Okay, great question. So there are the tools that I mentioned earlier, like RFs or SEMrush that you guys can use to do that. But usually you have to pay for those tools. What I like to use is Google Ads because even if you're not paying for Google Ads, you have access to the tool that lets you do the keyword research. I know we ran through this last time, but I'm going to run through it one more time really quickly just to show you guys an example. Just give me 1 second. So let's say now you're logged into your Google Ad account. on the left-hand side, there's a tools section. You click on you click on planning, and there's this tool called Keyword Planner. Keyword Planner is the tool you're looking for in Google Ads. And the cool thing about it is once you are here, you can click on Discover New Keywords and you can type in anything you want. So, Alex, I'm going to just run through your company really quickly, just as an example. Let's say we're in Los Angeles County, and that's like the only market we're servicing. Might not be the case for you, but you could choose any market you want. You can come in here and you can type in security guard um, company, get results, and you could put in like up to 10 keywords at once. And when you do that, um, Alex, what you'll see is that there are a few things that Google does. One is it shows you exactly your keyword you typed in. And it says, okay, about 880 people search security guard company in Los Angeles County specifically a month. And you can see what the trend looks like month over month. Sometimes there's peak seasons and slow seasons and all that kind of stuff. If you were to bid on it on Google, you could see that it would cost anywhere from $4 to $70 per keyword. Wow, that's very expensive. But there it also shows you other keywords that might be easier for you to bid on Google, or again, to take these and to use in your website for SEO. You don't have to bid on these. You can just take this data and put in your SEO. So I would create a page, Alex, on your website that's like whatever the name of your company is, .com/private security. That's a great keyword. Security guard services, private security companies. I would also do the local pages. So I would do private security Beverly Hills, private security Century City, private security Westwood. So steal this formula here. I'm going to put this in the chat for you, Alex. Exactly this. Build a locations page, put a title for private security, and then create a page for every market that you're really, really focused on. Okay. Next question I see here. Oh, Carlos, thank you for the kind words. Um, Arlene, I have one update from 2022. I don't know how it arrived there. Sometimes Google could like see things on your social media or other places and add updates for you. They're trying to help you. But you're gonna want to go in there, Arlene, and like actually manually do the updates. Layla, I was in a Google training recently and the presenter said to get reviews by any means necessary. I asked about ethical considerations and he said that Google reviews are so important in ranking that's okay to throw in an incentive for people who you know will rate you positively already, but it's not okay to incentivize folks to write fake reviews for incentive. Yeah, I would not ask for fake reviews. Fake reviews, like the worst case scenario, Google could take you down. Best case scenario, they just take down the review. I would not try to get fake reviews. But if your customers are already paying customers, they like your service, sometimes you just say like, listen, like write us a review, we'll give you a little bit of a discount next time. Um, again, you have to be smart about it. We've never seen an issue with stuff like that before. The ideal way is just to kind of get someone to do it right after the service happens because they're already happy. But a lot of companies offer a little bit of like a promotion the next time to get the reviews. Um, what's next here? Jordan, can you go over what you said earlier about taking a couple of keywords and building 30 pages around that? Yes. Okay. Layla, just going back to that concept here. So the example I did was the e-commerce example, which is really relevant for any business. It doesn't really matter. Tumble Rugs wanted to rank for a ton of different kinds of rugs. And they didn't have pages for all those kind of rugs. They just had like a shop rugs page. This is the only page they had. They had some filters on it, but you're not going to rank for 9 by 12 rug by just having a collections all page. So what we did is we transformed this one concept into 30 different concepts. We built pages for all the different sizes of rugs they carry. We built pages for all the colors they carry, for all the styles. So Layla, for your business, right? I'm just talking off the cuff. It might not make sense exactly, but you could A, have the location pages like Sherman Oaks, LA, etc. for your service. But maybe you also have a page for kids between the ages of 3 to 6 are in this one program, and then kids between the ages of 7 to 10 are in another program. And therefore, you have different pages because people are Googling that. Maybe, and you have to do the research, but maybe people are looking for soccer program for 10-year-olds, soccer program for toddlers, soccer program for teenagers. And so you'd have different pages for each of those to rank for it. Santos, I am not 100% sure how we get the recordings, and Dr. Michelle either. I will let Vartuhi
Uh,
talk about that?
yeah, we have an e-library and the recordings will be uploaded there. The slides will be, Jordan, you confirm this. Once we finish 4 series,
Yes.
we will send all the like slides together to the attendees.
Yes. No problem.
Okay, thank you. But for the, I will share the e-library and then, please go ahead, check the link and it takes time for our marketing team to upload them, but definitely we will upload them there.
Amazing.
So let me just, Leila wants to talk. Leila.
Hi, thank you so much. I figured I would just ask in person. So
Yeah, what's
I
up?
actually think, the building of the website and content is really exciting, especially if you believe in your product and you're excited about your product, then there are so many different ways of talking about something that you love. It as it's come up in all these meetings for a lot of small business owners, this can be really overwhelming. And so, is there a template that you recommend just to make sure, or a business is so, like, is it so customized per business that it's really hard to have something like that?
Yeah, great question. There isn't a template per se. There are guidelines, right? Like I mentioned one, which is like try to keep it over 1,000 words. Try to link to other pages on your website. Try to have images. There's a couple other nuances, like having like page titles and some other things like that are more minor, but there's no like exact guideline of how to write content well. But I'll tell you two things I would do if I was in your shoes. The first thing is I would look up what the keyword is you're trying to rank for and see who's ranking number one and see how much content they've done. Because if they have a very low bar and they're ranking well, then your bar doesn't have to be insanely high to beat them out. The second thing I would say is like, whether we like it or not, we're in a reality where there are a ton of great AI tools that can help with this stuff. And so although like we write all our content handwritten because like we want to have a really, really high bar, Claude is a great AI tool. It doesn't feel super like ChatGPT style. Like Claude is very sophisticated. And if you give it the keywords, you give it the prompt. What I like to do when I use AI is I actually talk to the AI and I like and instead of typing it, so I can give it a lot of context. And then within a few minutes, I'll pump out an article. And then you guys can then just edit the article and so I think between using Claude and ChatGPT to generate some stuff, run them through each other, and then you edit it, it should take writing an article from an hour and a half task to maybe a 20-minute task. And if you do that once a week, you're going to make a lot of progress on like, taking these things down.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question about AI and where you recommend AI gets inserted. When you said
Mhm.
handwritten blog posts or articles, do you mean that you just it's better to like type it out versus like just paste something into, or let's say it was generated by AI, or to really like heavily put in your influence and authorship onto that
Yeah. So
article?
when I say like handwritten, like we have copywriters that write all our content from scratch. We don't like use AI to generate it. Um, but that's just because we're like a little bit more careful. But if I was in your shoes, I would use a couple AI tools to run an article through, make it like solid, and then you as a, real person go in and edit it. Because these the same people who are making the AI tools are the ones that are like ingesting this content, and Google can tell when something's AI written. That's where I think a personal touch makes a big difference. Get the first draft done with Claude. It looks great. You go and edit it, make it feel a little bit more human, and then you can copy and paste it into your blog or whatever you're posting it on.
Thank you.
Amazing. Okay, well, it looks like we got the e-library linked to everyone. You guys have my contact information and Vartuhi, so you guys can always follow up with us. Um, it's been fun so far. I've gotten a couple people follow up from these sessions, so feel free to reach out and set up meetings with our team, and we're happy to help. But yeah, if there's no other questions, I can give you guys back these 15 minutes.
Yes, just to remind, the last session will be next week, so next Wednesday. And I just want to ask everyone, if you get a chance, please do the survey to help us to understand better what is your needs and, how we can do better. So if there is no more questions, I just want to thank you all. And and see you next week.